Hey, welcome back to the permission statement. If you're just joining us, I appreciate you for giving me the time and energy to check out my videos as I battle through this awkward conundrum, this legal battle, and this corruption with child welfare services. And I'm starting to kind of question the entire process, and I was reluctant since the beginning because I've seen it with my own eyes where I am the petitioner. This individual is the respondent. She was a petitioner in an adjacent matter, and I saw her and I was right there side by side with her fighting that battle in San Diego. But I saw what happened when she went. She was exactly in my position. She was a pro se, self-represented litigant going up against a social worker, the person that. But I didn't abandon my child like she did. She abandoned her child with these people. Those people got guardianship. That person was a social worker. She wasn't at the time, and I saw the brick wall that she hit when she went into that court up against a paid attorney, not being an attorney herself, and I'm trying to get up there and fight for her because she was just locking it up. Couldn't even talk, and I'm trying to jump up and get in there, and they wouldn't let me. But going up against a paid attorney, especially a good one like Peggy Moore. Peggy Moore isn't just like your basic. She's out of La Jolla, so that her offices were in La Jolla, a big office like that. So that lets you know who Peggy Moore is if you know the area. And going up into a family court service environment, that person's part of that team, right? Or even though they don't work for family court services, child welfare services, the court, FCS, all that, they work together. They know each other. And I saw her; she didn't even stand a chance. It was terrible to watch. So I've seen this before. So as I entered into this conflict and this battle to protect my son, I knew that I was going to face corruption because it started off that way with child welfare services, with Alexis Vossmeyer and the director, and them not transitioning things over to Sonoma County like they were supposed to, or Solano County, any adjacent county. And it's interesting that they picked Sonoma County because there's somebody that just got transferred from Napa County over to Sonoma County. But that's how it is. I'm sure somebody's maybe in Sacramento County or even Solano County. But I was even skeptical at that point. Like, did you kick it over to somebody who just transferred from Child Welfare Services in Napa? And because they had violated the protocol and the standard operating procedures, which they should have kicked it over, which is what I asked that day. And the very last thing that Alexis Vossmeyer said is, hey, I need to speak to our director to see if this has to go over to an adjacent county. That I never heard back from them. Like, wouldn't respond, wouldn't nothing. And they didn't do their thing until I went to the ombudsman of the state of California and called the director. She tried to kick me back over to Alexis Vossmeyer. Let me stop you right there. State of California says I need to speak to you. Oh, wait, yeah, you're right. Oh, man, yeah, I should have kicked it over. I'll have somebody call you in a few days from Sonoma County. And that's when what should have happened begins. So this started off in 2021 with facing off with corruption here in Napa County. Now, this individual committed bigamy, all right? And I requested to amend from an annulment to from dissolution of marriage to annulment as the putative spouse, and I should have been granted that. So this other individual with the attorney, since I stated since day one, like that might be the case, they started working on the under, and for her to file for annulment with the guy that she entered into this bigamous marriage with. She was his case manager at the halfway house. He was there for selling fucking heroin and meth with children with them. Gets into her custody. She starts fucking them. They have a relationship. She gets 2 DUIs because I'm going to show y'all because of their relationship and this, let's call it fucked up choices she made. While she abandoned, take my kid. I got to go off with Marvin Mace. And then she ends up going into the drug trade with him, and they end up getting arrested when he shoots himself on accident. So after that, I'm going to read this to y'all, which was read to Robert Stamps and has been submitted to the court. She gets released, and then they get married. So after all that stuff, like now she's having to fight for her son. She got 2 DUIs. She just got arrested. She has to do a PC 1000 because she pleads guilty. Not innocent. The charges aren't dropped. You plead guilty to a PC 1000, and then you have to do all this stuff. And then they'll drop the charges. But you plead guilty. You committed that crime. And her attorney, Gregory C. Winter here in Napa, keeps trying to make it be like, well, what was the disposition of that? What was the disposition was she pled guilty. She pled guilty. Okay, like, miss me with the bullshit. I got the PC 1000 paperwork here. I'm going to show it to you. I read the report from when she was in custody where she sought to have her co-defendants arrested and everything when they were out committing crimes, and then she gets arrested and they steal from her, and she goes to the police and says, I want them arrested and charged and prosecuted for stealing from me. One standard for her, another standard for other people. But I asked that this dissolution of marriage, since day one, I said, hey, this might be the wrong proceeding. We might need an annulment. Me being the putative spouse. And then that was that motion, the request for order was approved to start that process and bring it before the court. And I had a valid argument that there's void marriages and voidable marriages, but I made it really clear. You have 4 years from the time you find out about the bigamy, and since they enter into this together as an extension of their criminal behavior, because if you're married to somebody, you can't be forced to testify against them. So she was concerned about now a Fed case coming in because the DEA reached out to them and said, hey, we got your drug money. We got your drug money here. Do you want it back? And there's a note at the bottom, handwritten note from Marvin Mace, which I read to Robert Stamps, and it's been submitted to the court since the beginning. Which this one's going to be a real interesting one right here, because you got to once I read y'all what he wrote at the end, and when I read it in court when Marvin Mace tried to lie, it showed that they were lying. They came to the court and they're like, hey, we should get this done. And what did the court do but help them undo the crime that they committed together? Because at the end of the hearing on May the 5th, Robert Stamps, he had a recess because he had to go check into all this and everything. Maybe 10 or 15 minutes, comes back in, and he finds in their favor, and he says this, there's no statute of limitations on bigamy. There is on when you can file from when you knew. And we went through the whole thing. Marvin Mace testified under oath, and he tried to lie, saying that his wife filed for divorce in 1 year, and then he didn't see her again. And so I had already submitted the newspaper article where her and him were arrested together when they were selling the heroin and meth with the kids with these other people, which I'm going to read that article to you. So let me, so today again, I was doing more research, and it has never made any sense to me why Robert Stamps approved their annulment when they had exceeded the statute of limitation. How can a commissioner, judge, whatever you want to call it, override the statutes of limitation? There is no statute of limitation on bigamy. But if you know about it and then you just keep rolling with it and rolling with it and rolling with it, and according to the respondent in my matter and the petitioner in that matter, she says that I believe that our marriage was valid, which I did. Man, we bought a house together and everything. And she says her own claim is that we went and verified that Marvin Mace was married. So if that's the case, then that means I believe that our marriage was valid. So they can't, whether they're lying or they're telling the truth, they're not very good at validating their own argument. They actually validated my argument if that would be the case. So this is the newspaper article, which is on the internet. Google Marvin Lee Mace Jr. Vista, and this shall pop up. Vista. This is from November 18th, 2003. A woman walked Thursday from her car to the door of a comfortable Alta Vista home, preparing to negotiate a deal for a quarter pound of heroin. Her month-old baby, her 11-year-old sister, and her mother remained in the car. Inside the house, a grandmother waited to handle the deal. Her children, ages 3 and 8, were with her. Neither woman was aware that the federal and local drug enforcement agents had the house under surveillance. Officers were about to raid it as they dismantled an alleged heroin ring involving members of the Vista Homeboys gang, which Marvin Mace is from, Vista Homeboys. Officials described that scene during a news conference Monday in San Diego as they gave more information about an 18-month investigation that ended with 4 search warrant raids and 10 arrests late last week in Vista, San Diego, and Downey, California. We know for a fact that the group is very violent, said Michael S. Vigil, special agent in charge of U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration in San Diego. They are tied to the Mexican mafia. There has always been a connection here between Mexican cartels and drug-dealing gangs, Vigil said at DEA headquarters. They were well-trained by cartels who pay them to carry out their dirty business, he said. I think that This Vista Homeboys is no exception to the rules. The investigation by federal, state, and local officers in the latest effort to dislodge the longtime heroin trade in North County, said Assistant U.S. Attorney John D. Kirby. The entire North County does have a major drug problem, Vigil said. It has been in existence for quite some time. Vista officials have been attempting to cut drug abuse in their community since an early multi-agency drug sting targeted Vista street dealers with ties to the Vista Homeboys. Agents arrested 42 suspects out of the case in early 1998. Remember, the respondent in my matter was walking into Mexico, stuffing her vajuju full of heroin, and walking it back into the States, and her and Marvin Mace were selling it in Vista to people. She was imposing on that community right there, and you can hear the suffrage right there in the writing. The community started 2 programs after that investigation, the Vista Partners Project and Weed and Seed, to deter drug abuse and improve neighborhoods. Vista City Manager Rick Dudley said in a phone interview, "I think it's great," he said, about the latest arrest. "I think it does a lot of good. 6 men, 4 women, and 4 women were arrested on federal and state charges, primarily drug-related, through Sunday. Officers seized 5 pounds of heroin with an estimated street value of $125,000, plus a pound of meth worth about $22,000 in street sales. The heroin was primarily Mexican black tar, made in Mexico and named for its dark brown or black color. 2 handguns, $25,000 cash were also confiscated, and forfeiture of a house is underway." So when people are dealing drugs out of people's house and stuff, kind of like what those people were doing down there at my mother-in-law's house, or what my brother-in-law was doing on the phone out of his mama's house, you grown 40-something-year-old living at home man bitch, doing stupid shit on a phone that's not in your name but in your sister's name, out of your mother's house that was already hit by the drug addicts that she had take over the backyard, huh? What? So asset forfeiture is no joke. So when people are doing stuff that put other people at risk of losing everything that they work hard for, that's not reasonable. Excuse me. The federal indictments alleging conspiracy to distribute heroin were brought against Jose Marie Garcia, Jesus Ramos Heredia, Marvin Lee Mace Jr., Emilio Sanchez Serrano, Juan Antonio Castro, Garcia. Garcia said Vigil is believed to be one of the top 3 leaders of the Vista Homeboys. He is a primary heroin and meth distributor in Vista, and Ramos Heredia was his supplier. Garcia and Ramos Heredia were arraigned Friday and pleaded innocent. Serrano was still at large Monday. The other 4 were being held in the Federal Metropolitan Correctional Center in San Diego pending court hearings. Apologize because some of the stuff is bunched together. 6 other people were booked into the Vista jail on suspected state drug charges or weapon charges. Rosalinda Garcia, Garcia's wife, Lorena Beltran, Giovanna Yvette Mace. That's Marvin Lee Mace's wife. They were arrested together on that day. Eric Organ, Jose Rafael Souza, and Veronica Vero Gonzalez. Rosa Garcia and Beltran also were arrested on suspicion of cruelty of children. So there goes on more and more. You can see the article. It's done by, let me see. It was written by Joe Moreland. And like I said, you can Google this. It's online, right? So after Marvin Mace was released from custody for that crime, he was sent to a halfway house in San Diego. The respondent in my matter was the case manager that he ends up on her caseload. So she knew all this, because if you're a case manager, you're going to know all this. You're going to know the marital status of the individual, which they stated in court on May the 5th to Robert Stamps. So like I said, here's the booking sheet and everything. And as you can see under there what those crimes are if you look really close enough. And so I'll get those written down for you. Like I say, I declare under penalty of perjury that what I say here is the truth, and all this stuff that I'm putting forward is genuine. So I think I've showed y'all before. These are the DUIs for the respondent in my matter, right? Let me see if I can get it close enough. I don't know how to get this stuff up on the screen yet. That's Jessica Lopez right there. Those are the tickets. What you want to pay attention to is, see that? North County Division. Let's go for the other one. Same thing. Where's that ticket cited at? North County Division. Now look at the dates on these too. Where is the date? Let me see. 6/14/10 and 4/7/10 and 6/14/10. So there's an enhancement for being less than a year for your second DUI, and for having more alcohol in your system than the first time. You see those right there? You see the vehicle code, blah, blah, blah. You see that right there, the violations. So why this is relevant is because Marvin Mace tried to come and blow smoke up Robert Stamp's ass in the court and commit perjury again. And he says, "Oh yeah, you know, I was on her caseload and we didn't hook up or nothing," until he's trying to lay down cover and smoke for her because it don't look good that somebody that was supposed to be keeping him from committing crimes and had a duty to who she worked for and to the people out there in the community to protect this individual from going back out there and selling more heroin and more meth. And it's a crime because there are contractors contracted by the BOP, and then they start screwing. So he was trying to lie and say, "Oh no, this didn't happen until afterwards." But if you look, I'm going to put her resume up too. I submitted it to the court so you can see that she's full of shit. And that obviously she asked him like, "Hey, look, it don't look good here for me." I mean, I'm just assuming how the conversation would be because they made it seem in their literature, which I'm going to put forward, that they had no communication, that he ain't going to show up, that he was served, but you know, yeah, he ain't going to come. But then eventually he shows up when I show up to court and tries to lie on her behalf. They're going to tell me that he happens to just lie ever so strategically just on her behalf. But her resume will not line up with these tickets. And if you're familiar with San Diego, somebody down in Southeast San Diego just doesn't go up there and hang out in Vista and Carlsbad. This supports the stories that she gave me. Right? All right. So somebody who had that duty betrayed that duty, betrayed her employer, betrayed the people, is trying to cover all that up. And Napa County seems to be helping her because after having done all that, instead of going back and be like, "Hey, I'm going to do what I got to do to get my son back," she goes and marries Marvin Mace. They did it together. Oh, shoot. So here's the notice of asset forfeiture. So she was concerned that she was going to get a fake case. So whether they got married so that she could have conjugal visits or because of the Fed case. So this is a notice of asset forfeiture from the Drug Enforcement Administration. Right there. Where's the names on there? Let me see. You see the names? Wait, where's the names? Right there. Marvin Lee Mace Jr. and Jessica Lopez. Right? Okay. So, whenever law enforcement takes drugs from people or mainly money or property or whatever, they're not going to give drugs back to people. They give them an opportunity to claim the money, but you got to prove that you got it by proper, means, not through drug trade. So at the bottom of this, it says, "I got this in the mail, babe." I was like, "Oh, fuck, not these bastards again." And I read this to the judge after Marvin Mace tried to lie, and I asked that Robert Stamps impeach them based on the fact that they're trying to lie. If you want to try to claim this money, it's all you. If not, I'll just charge it to the game. My cellie got one of these last year, and he didn't get a federal case. So don't panic, babe. I love you. Let me know what you think. And it's crazy. After she marries him, and he's in custody for the crimes they committed, she goes after the people who stole her things. She starts a relationship with my friend. They're messing around. She's out, with these guys doing her thing, getting her issue. Well, Marvin Mace is in jail, and I don't know if he thinks he's holding it down, but she is. She's out there getting what she needs physically while he's in custody, and then I end up meeting her through that friend, and then she hooks up with me behind that dude's back, right? So, and then like I said, we find out that she's pregnant, but I agree. I'm like, hey, it's your choice. I'll stay with you. I fell for the okie doke, right? I read y'all the report last night, or the police report where she wanted those people prosecuted for stealing her identity and all that stuff. The people that she was out selling the drugs with, she wanted to make sure that they were held accountable for the crimes they committed against her. And so, this is, let me see what it says. San Diego County Sheriff's Department. That's her own writing. This is her request to claim that money. I received a notice of seizure from the Drug Enforcement Administration. She spells enforcement with an I. It's DEA, not DIA. For money that was seized by them on 4/29/10. I would like some more information on my rights to my money. On my rights to my money. They are asking if I would like to petition a claim to receive the money back. Could you please give me all the info you can on this matter? So, there you go. You can see it. That's her signature right there. All right. The counselor responds back. Jessica Lopez, number 1024635, dated 6/7/10. I guess that was her booking number. Miss Lopez, as far as I know about your situation, what the notice of seizure is stating is that if you would like the property back from what they seized from you, the paperwork indicates that you need to fill it out and send it back to them if you want your property back or not. Fill out the paperwork and send it back to them. He's pretty much saying like, yeah, I don't know. I just got it. Says right there on the thing. So when I go in front of Robert Stamps here on May the 5th, it should have been, there was enough evidence in front of him. All this stuff was put before the court. And I'm not an attorney. I don't have the money for an attorney. It's tethered into this home and everything that we have. And I don't have the liquid money to make a decision to go pay for a retainer for an attorney and also pay the bills and maintain. So it's like either you lose your home or you lose everything because you give all your money up front to an attorney, or put it on a credit card. But then how do you pay for your other bills and everything? Long story. So when I asked to amend to annulment, what happened in courtroom 6 was imperative because by him granting their annulment, it would negate mine. So Robert Stamps, by approving their annulment, when the statute of limitation on when to file had passed, it was evident that they entered into this knowing. Marvin May said, oh, she was my case manager, so she would have known that he was married. There's no ambiguity right here. There was nothing to be undone. Well, figured out. The evidence was pretty cut and dry. In their own words, they admitted to it, and they tried to lie to him multiple times. But still, so it begs the question, why? Why did the commissioner override the statutes of limitation and say that there's no statute of limitations on bigamy? I didn't say that. I'm going to have to go get all the transcripts, and then I'll read it to you guys where I said 4 years had passed. They've already exceeded that time frame because they entered into this. So it begs the question, why? And so why do I feel like there's something more to this than meets the eye? Because all the people that should be doing, like Alexis Vossmeyer and the director, they should have kicked it over to Sonoma. They didn't. When this went before Robert Stamps in courtroom 6, their annulment should have been denied, and then we could have came back over to courtroom C or 3, I think it's C, and press forward with the annulment that I requested as the putative spouse. But that was denied by me. And so that was the second opportunity. And again, when I filed for dissolution of marriage, you have X amount of time to respond to any, like whether it's a civil suit or dissolution of marriage, there's a window. That window was violated by multiple months. 10 months she didn't respond. And yet So I was then eligible for a default, which I just wanted to be unhooked from this individual. I believe in marriage. I'm not her. I don't go out and cheat, in which we'll get more into that one too. So it's like I'm stuck tethered to this person because a lot of people don't understand. Just because you're separated legally or you're in a disillusioned marriage, if you go hook up with somebody else or go move on with your life, and you're still committing adultery, and I ain't going down that path. I can't say so much about the respondent because she was doing it before I even filed for dissolution of marriage, as I stated in that email that I read to y'all from to Alexis Vossmeyer, what I found in her phone. Now, this individual was trying to draw me down. I've made it really clear. I have beef with dangerous people in Mexico. This individual was trying to walk me down into the very town in Mexico where these people are. This person and all these murders that have happened and everything. The shit's real, man. And so their attempt is to try to like say, oh no, it's not real. It's bullshit. And I've already smashed that bullshit myth. And so it begs the question, why? So you got somebody who betrayed the company they work for. They betrayed their oath to protect the people and honor that company. They betrayed their own son by throwing him over these people and going off and living with Marvin Mace in North County while her son was in El Cajon and going and doing all this stuff, which could have got her killed. Going down to Mexico, stuff in the hoo-ha with heroin, one of those packs bust, boom, you're dead. Get arrested at the border and not see your son again. All the while, her son needed her. She betrayed her own son. And then Marvin Mace gets locked up. She gets locked up. Then she's out here betraying Marvin Mace. The guy that she's betraying Marvin Mace with, she betrays with me. We build the legacy. We have a child. Everything seems like it's going good. But over time, she betrays me. She betrays our son by going back into the alcoholism. We get here to Napa. We buy a home. She was, oh man, I always wanted to be a homeowner. I can't believe I'm a homeowner. And she starts and goes hanging out with the people from news that are drinkers, that don't have a husband, live at home with their parents. And they're married to gang members, and one of them's engaged to gang members. He keeps cheating on her. The other one's married to a murderer doing life in prison. Who is a straight up racist? That's why I don't even like going around her no more. We were over at their house one day, and she's giving me this boohoo story. Like I'm like, I don't care, Like it's like this practice speech that she has to give, justifying why she's married to some dude that's doing life in prison, so that she doesn't, seem cuckoo bird about it. And then she gets into this thing and she's talking about black people or mayates. And I just like, my niece is black. I have brothers that I serve with, family, got mad love for them. So if people are racist, get it how you live. That's your prerogative. This person is an advocate, supposed to be an advocate here in Napa for victims of sexual assault and domestic violence. And I'm hearing racism come out of her mouth, this lady Helen Paleo. And I'm just like, whoa, that's odd. But right then, it just let me know, you know what? This person's confused and this person's mind is controlled by some dude in prison. Because that's what I was hearing. I was hearing an inmate speaking to me through her. So that's not empowerment. That's somebody that's mentally slaved out to somebody else under my control. And then the person's house that we were at, her daughter was in this relationship with this dude that kept cheating on her, and he's an active gang member. And I'm just looking around like, why can't she make friends that have normal problems? Like, I got colitis or something, or, oh man, I had to start a new job, or, all these other things. No. We got the mother's house being taken over by drug addicts. The brother that, does all this stupid shit in prison. He gets out, he's doing dumb stuff. It's just, these are not reasonable expectations to impose on a family, right? So she betrays our family by going back to her drinking and drinking in front of my son. Everywhere we go, everything we got to do, she got to drink. She got to bring the drink. And I got the photographs, put them before the court. And I'm going to bring him here. I'm going to make one of those scroll things so everybody can see it. And y'all heard when I read what she wrote to the court in San Diego, that nobody should have been drinking in front of her first son, right? So she betrays me. She betrays our son. And then she gets into this going and hanging out with this guy in San Diego that she used, another gang member, that she used to have sex with. And then she betrays me again. But maybe it was my fault because I entered into the betrayal with her for my friend. So maybe I was just getting my just desserts. And people have said, hey, it's your fault. You can't turn a hoe into a housewife. And I'll say it a million times. I wasn't trying to make a hoe into a housewife. I was just trying to make a hoe into a wife. You know, I looked at what she had done and I saw good in her and I put all my faith in her and all my love and concern. And hey, the consequences are betrayal. But so now this individual has all this protection that same individual, when we presented everything I'm saying, well, they didn't go abandon their kid and all that shit, but they were drinking and partying up in front of her son. We presented that to the court, and she said that shouldn't be happening. But that person was a social worker, and they wield a lot of power. If you're just a parent, you're in going into a situation, if you're a father, or you already got a mountain to climb, right? Now imagine you're a father who doesn't have money for an attorney and the other person does. That's another mountain you're going to have to climb. The third mountain is if that person's interwoven into the system in Napa, and then you have proof that this person has a shady history and she's been out there for years doing stuff on behalf of the county. The taxpayers are paying for her to go upward and have more power and more control over these other people that live here in Napa. The very same tax-paying constituents of Napa are paying to send somebody out there to tell them what they can and can't do with their child when they've done all this chaotic, crazy stuff in the past, and then they were doing this stupid shit here in Napa County. So they have to protect that because it doesn't look very good here in Napa. So then she betrays Napa County by her actions and all the stuff that she was doing and the lies that she was telling, and she told quite a few, even here to Napa County. So now they're doing damage control. And I have to wonder, how far does this go? Because I've asked the county supervisor, director of health and human services, director of human resources. I've asked the court, all these people. And she used to work for News, and News is very tightly related with legal aid, with family court services, and all these people. And I'm telling y'all, when I went into mediation with her, it didn't feel like no mediation at all. It didn't feel like no middle. It felt like they had some kind of existing friendship, relationship, occupational or otherwise, because they were calling each other by their first name. I didn't call that lady by her first name. I don't call the judge by her first name. I say Robert Stamps here because that's his name, but he's the commissioner. When I'm talking to him, it's sir or your honor. I don't say, hey, Robert. I don't say Julia, Julia. I say ma'am or your honor. I don't say call them by their first name. So that was really like, huh. And she would jump all over me like crazy. And I was like, man, like I said, I pushed back like, hey, we're done here. I ain't got nothing more to say. This something ain't right here. And she changed her attitude at that point. But it begs the question, are these people getting down for her just like those people got down for Sandra Rubio in San Diego when we went through family court services trying to fight to get back her son? I had no party to that. I was no party to that action down there. She did all that before she met me. But I still was trying to jump. I was trying to stand up in court, Your Honor, because I knew what to say. She locked up. I'm like, dude, this is your chance, because they were using hearsay and bullshit. They're doing exactly to her then what she's doing here. So, ride with me. I got some more stuff to put forward for y'all. I got to go down to the courthouse because I got to put in the proof of service. If you're going to file, I'm going to start showing people what I go through and like the paperwork. So maybe when you got to do it, you'll have it. But proof of service, you got to get that in. Because if you don't, they will try to say, I want to have this stricken. It could be the most crucial piece of evidence. If you do not put in that proof of service before the court date, that's what they're going to do. And then that thing becomes, it could be the smoking gun. And it won't matter because it won't be able to be considered in the courtroom. So I got to go drop some in because we have court tomorrow. Then I got to spend the day getting everything ready because it's going to be more dog and pony show tomorrow. But you know what? Time for me to start sharpening up my teeth because I want some ass. Gregory Winter, I'll see you tomorrow. You shouldn't be talking about this case to people who aren't related to this case. As an attorney, that's an ethical violation. So if you're out there running your mouth, you better make sure that people close by can't overhear you, because I heard that you was running your mouth about a case to somebody else that ain't party to this, and that's an ethical violation. And you know what that means.